This is a review of the Scheppach TS310. I think this is the same saw as the HS120. I'm not 100% sure. There's about £30–40 difference in the price. They look exactly the same in the photos. The difference is that with this one you get a second saw blade and you get a second extension table. So I'm assuming that for all intents and purposes the rest of the saw is the same. There might be a slight difference in the motor, I'm not really sure. We're going to take a look around the whole saw. You can see here the on-off switch. The power cable plugs into the bottom of that, so it's quite easy to pull it in and out. It's not easy to see which way it goes in, unfortunately. You have to make sure that you know how it goes in. So it's not clear if it goes sideways or if it goes front to back, but it goes sideways. And then it's just got a standard UK plug on the end. I was surprised when I started unboxing and building the saw at how thin the leg pieces are. They look quite sturdy in the video, and they're not. They're very thin metal that's been bent to this shape. And actually they're not bad. Once you put the cross braces in, the support pieces in, they're not too bad. But despite everything being tightened, there's still a bit of wobble on it. You can see that there. You know, I'm not putting a lot of force there and it's wobbling. The carry handles are quite good and the saw is not too heavy. I think it's about 50 or 60 kilos when it's fully built, and all of that weight is in the motor in the center. All the other parts are quite light. So the carry handles flip up and you can lift up the saw onto the wheels at the back, then you can move it around quite easily. And the handles flop down out of the way. I think that's a really good feature. The sliding table accessory at the side is quite small. It's not the biggest sliding table. There is an adjustment to the sliding table mechanism. So you can see underneath that there are two bearings and you can loosen this nut to adjust their position, but the problem is that when you loosen this nut, this piece moves freely, this block in the back there that holds the bearings. So you have to make an effort to hold the block in the position that you want it while you tighten the nut, and the pressure on the spanner far outweighs any pressure you can put holding this in place. So usually I've found in my limited testing that when you tighten this nut, this moves anyway, and therefore your runners change position slightly. But I mean, they're okay. I think they're tight enough. The ones at the top have little plastic caps on them, and those little caps hit these little bolts in the end as an end piece. And my worry is that they're going to break very soon because they're just tiny, thin little pieces of plastic. The sliding table is very difficult to get level, but I was trying to do it with just myself and two hands, because you have to loosen these two bolts at either side, so 4 bolts, then you have to hold the slide in place while you tighten those 4 bolts at both sides. So that's really difficult. I think though you can make some kind of jig where you could put a piece of wood underneath here, maybe at each end, or you could get somebody else to hold it, and you can probably hold it at exactly the right position. And I think you want it so that this fence is very close to but not touching the table. This is the miter gauge, and you can see that the scale is on a screw in an oblong hole, so that's very handy. When you release this, it's got another one at this end, you can set it with 0 exactly where you want 0 to go. You can release the screws, it's got a sticky back here, so you can peel that off and you can stick it down so that it's exactly zeroed for your saw. The stop here, it's very difficult to tighten. When I tighten it up, by tightening it, I'm twisting it, and therefore I'm adjusting its position. Maybe if you put a bit of thread lock on it and you tighten it and you never have to move it, that's probably okay. That will probably work. It's just a really bad design. You can also adjust the miter fence with these two wing nuts. You release them and the whole fence slides up and down, which is really handy, and then you can tighten it up. The fence locks with this little lever here. You just lift it up. It's easy to lift up, and once you do, the fence is solid. That's not really moving. It's got a little bit of flex at the end. You know, it's moving a couple of millimeters, but I don't think that's important. You know, at the start of the blade, it doesn't move. It moves a little bit. half a millimetre maybe. The nice thing about the fence is that once you release the lever, you can just lift it straight off and get it out of the way, which is great. I'm just having a quick look at how square the blade is to the fence. I've locked the fence in place and I've got a caliper, set of calipers. 9.6 that time. And that time 10.3. So there's anywhere from 0.3 to 0.6 mil difference between the blade and the fence, just from the front of the blade to the back of the blade. I'm not sure how easily that could be adjusted. You could put a shim in the fence here, but the way the locking mechanism works, I'm not sure you can adjust. Maybe you could pack out, you could put a shim in one side of the locking mechanism. That might do it, I don't know. You'd have to test and see. Something that's a bit disappointing, but that you could live with, is that it's very difficult to get the blade up and down. I've watched a lot of table saw videos and they just stand here and turn this dial and the blade goes up and down. Unfortunately on this saw it's not like that. It's quite stiff. At first I thought maybe it was locked. I thought that maybe there was something stopping the blade going up and down that I hadn't released, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just designed like this. Going down is definitely easier than going up. This is okay, it's not too bad. But as soon as I start going up, it's really difficult. You know, when I put pressure here, it starts to bend the whole dial. It's actually easier to hold it like a disc and turn it. It definitely goes down okay. But even then, it's not easy. It's really not easy. And then going up, it's a real effort. Like it's getting stuck in places, and I think taking this handle off would make it easier, and you just do it like this. And that's, sure, if you spend thousands of pounds on a saw, that would be nice to have. You can make it work, it's just a little bit more difficult than it could be. There is no positive stop for adjusting the angle of the saw blade. So you release this clamp, and you release the one on the other side as well. And immediately the machine balances itself based on its center of gravity. So it goes squint, and it's sitting at about 18 degrees, something like that. So to get it to 0, you have to slide it and hold it while you twist this. You also have to check exactly what angle the blade is at, because if you're tightening it and you're just slightly off 90, it's very difficult to get it to exactly 90 and tighten both sides at the same time. Now, what this makes me think is it's extremely difficult to get a 90-degree cut. On the top of the table here, we've got the plate, which you loosen these 4 screws and you can pull it out. And because they're screws, they screw it down firmly. There's no height adjustment on it. The instructions say that you're meant to put 4 bolts to attach it, but there are no bolts that come that are the right size. Maybe they're referring to these things as bolts. You get good access into the blade and the riving knife. That's fairly easy to do. I guess you could make a 0 clearance insert for here fairly easily. And if you do that, you could probably put some kind of bolts that will allow you to level it along that edge there. Because the way it sits at the moment, if I push that down, is it sits below the top of the table. So it kind of looks like it's level there, but it's not. When you fasten it down, it's not level. You can also see there's quite a bit of flex in it because it's plastic. Now, that's the same when it's tightened, that there's still quite a bit of flex, which means if you're cutting something thin, it's going to be hard to be guaranteed that this is staying where you want it to stay, staying level with the table when you're cutting it. But I think if you get a piece of wood and you make a 0 clearance insert, that should fix that issue. I've just taken the saw blade off to have a look and put it back on. The arbors look not bad. The inner one looks better than the outer one, which I suppose is more important. But there's a little bit of wiggle on the blade, and I feel like this is going to cause a problem. But if you watch the arbor on the outside, so this piece here, you can watch it wobble as it starts up. I think that's because the bolt is perhaps off-center, which means the weighting will be off-center, so it's not going to be evenly weighted. This is a straight edge. It's not an engineered straight edge, so I can't guarantee that it is perfectly straight, but it's pretty straight. And you can see there's quite a lot of play. Now this is placed in front of this plate, so this is just the actual table. That exists at the front and the back. I read somewhere that you can adjust the level of the top by these bolts. So there's 6 bolts here. 1, 2, 3, and 3 at the back. So I think if you loosen those bolts, put shims in underneath and then tighten them again, you could get that relatively flat. All in, it's not a bad saw. I think there's definitely some inherent design flaws, which mean that you're never going to be accurate with this saw, or if you are, it's going to be extremely difficult to be accurate. But having said all of that, if you want to do rough work, it's got a good height. I think the blade comes out something like 103 mil. Maybe, you can cut big pieces of timber on it, and it's very portable, and it's fairly cost effective. There are a lot cheaper saws. I saw table saws at £100, and I don't know that they could be less accurate, and therefore, from that point of view, I'm not sure what the extra money is for. But I've not tested, I've not seen any of those table saws, so I don't know for sure.